dramatic Derby Day last year. Amy Derby Day, Blackfriars was the winner, but it was eventually decided in the stewards' room before the trophy could be handed over to the connections of Blackfriars, with Shogun Lodge in second placing and Shane Dye throwing in a protest. Hopefully we won't have to worry about that today. And wherever you're watching around Australia and indeed around the world, we hope you can stay with us for our coverage on Amy Victoria Derby Day. And if you'd like to get in contact with us, well, there's a way of doing that. And you can just jump on the email and email us at this address, thecup@network10.com.au. Last year we had great reaction from all over the place. An Australian sitting on the Champs-Elysees in Paris watching the Foster's Melbourne Cup. So we'd love to hear from you wherever you are in the world from thecup@network10.com.au. And hopefully you'll be able to congratulate the illustrious panel on their tipping performance, because we're going to plough into it now and we're going to find you the 9 winners, aren't we, Jen?
We're going to try, that's for sure.
What about the first, the William Inglis Carbine Club Stakes? Repeating the scratchings are 8 Paradiddle and 18 Candana Lad.
Peter, I like 2 horses in this race. Number 3, Crystal Finale, number 7, Burley. They both ran in the Tupperware Cup at Caulfield last start, and they both ran very well. Crystal Finale finished the race off extremely well, and Burley also a very eye-catching run there. But I've left them in that order anyway.
What do you like, Rich?
I like number 3, Crystal Finale. I thought his form was pretty good. I like, I like locally trained horses on the track here, especially early in the day. I think they get a little bit of an advantage, and he'll race on the pace from barrier 7. He'll be hard to beat. And
Jonathan, you have gone for Pieces.
Pieces, yes.
Not gone 2 pieces, you've gone 4 pieces.
Thanks, Pete. I was going on the last start 4 lengths behind Scalado, the favourite in the Derby today, and I think this is a little bit weaker, this race, and I think Pieces will be pretty hard to beat.
I've gone for Costa's Off. The barrier worries me, barrier 17 at the 1600, but remember last year, Over had a big weight and he had a wide gate in the first race and he won. Track might have been a bit different that day, but I think Costa's Off, he was finishing off really well at Caulfield, and I think he might be the one to beat. Now, the second race is a very interesting one coming up. It is the Shivers Regal. It's over 1,200 metres, so it's down the straight. Time to start at 12 o'clock. We've got 3 scratchings, so there's only a field of 9. Rich, it might be a bit of a tactical race, but we've got a couple of smart ones in this. There
are a couple of fast horses, and I think most of the speed is drawn against the outside rail, and I think that's where the horses will end up going in this race. There'll be a bit of a conundrum whether you go to the inside rail or the outside rail. They'll go to one or the other. I'm tipping they'll go to the outside rail, and I'm tipping number 9, Oamaru Force.
Johnny Letts?
Same again, Peter. I think Oamaru Force, 2 starts, 2 wins, very, very easy wins. I think it'll win.
What about you, Jen?
Well, I do like Oamaru Force. I think he's a terrific horse. He's got blistering gate speed, but I'm just going to go for a little bit of value here in number 4, Cosset. I just don't think you can knock his form. It's been terrific. Yeah,
I've gone for Oamaru Force. 2 starts, 2 wins. Very impressive at Bendigo, and then he trotted in last start at Sandown. Dan Malicki's gone for number 5, Cheffel, and I know why, because if Dan saw this horse gallop down the straight the other morning, he would have been impressed like everyone else was, and it's got a terrific each-way chance in race 2. Now, the third is the Saab Quality. It's over 2,500 metres. Very important lead-up race for the Foster's Melbourne Cup on Tuesday. And the in-form horse is probably Brood, Letsy.
He's the one that I like today, Pete, and I like him in the Melbourne Cup. I thought his run last year in the Melbourne Cup was a good run. Good run the Moonee Valley Cup, and I think he'll go one better today, and I think he'll win that and get into the Melbourne Cup field.
He needs to run 1-2 today, doesn't he, to guarantee himself a start? Yes. And if he does get through, well, he's going to drop an enormous amount of weight, probably around about 7 kilos or so. Jennifer, you've gone for Brew as well?
I thought it was a good run last start. He went around the field at Moonee Valley and he was left a bit of a sitting shot there for Yippee-Yi-Yo. I think he can win.
Do you want to say that again?
Yeah,
sitting
no,
shot?
I don't actually.
Put your teeth back in. Rich, what do you think?
I've gone for Brew. It's starting to worry me because, you know, Letsy's never tipped
too many of us are picking it, Rich.
Letsy hasn't tipped winners in about 4 years, and he's tipping all the same horses I am, so I'm starting to get real worried.
I've got your book here.
But Brew is the one to beat in this. I think he loves the track. Chris Muntz is one of the best long-distance jockeys in the game. And I think for barrier 4 he can win.
I've gone for Black Ledger. I really liked his win at Caulfield. Chrissy Muntz was sitting up outside the leader that day when he rode him, and he asked the horse for an effort at the top of the straight, and it just went ping and ran away from them. And I think if he puts up a similar performance today, then he'll just about win. Now we go on to race 4, and this is always one of the hardest races on any racing program, the Mayor's Race, the Hardy Brothers Classic. This one's no exception, Jen.
Oh, no, Peter, it's tough here. I thought number 14, It's Platonic, had a pretty good chance. She's had the 5 runs over the 1,600 metres and won them all, so I thought she came into this race very well.
Rich, help us out, please.
Well, I thought number 1, Avilled, because things like It's Platonic are at 55.5 kilos, Avilled with 58.5. They're probably too close to to Avilda, I think, in the weights, and I think from, you know, a nice draw of 9, that'll be okay. She'll win.
Got some shocking news for you.
What?
Let's-y agrees.
I've tipped it again, Rich. This must be your book. And I've gone on its last start behind Typhoon, and Typhoon, when it puts its mind to the job, it's a pretty smart racehorse. And I just thought that this mare could get away today, Avilda. And stop tipping mine.
I'm history.
You blokes are either going to be roosters or feather dusters together at the end of the day.
Let me have a tip before him, Pete. Let me tip before him next time.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Copying me.
Do you want to hear mine for what it's worth?
Not really.
No, I didn't think you did, but I'll tell you anyway. Nova Claus, I think she's most consistent. I think she might beat Bumbelina. Then we come to the lead-up for the Oak Stakes, and that is race 5, the Qantas Wakeful Stakes at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. What about these fillies, Rich? What did you come up with?
Well, I'm having a hit and hope here, and I do think that Blab, even though it's one of ours, and I rarely tip our own horses because I think it jinxes them,
Yes.
but I think she's ready to come to form, and her form's a lot better than it reads on paper. Her runs have been a lot better, and perhaps I know that because I've been watching her more closely, but I think she can win from barrier 6. It's just a matter of whether she runs out the full trip.
Have you gone for Blab as well, Let's-y?
No, I have not.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
One underneath it, Pete.
Yeah.
Tanith.
No, he's just doing it.
Yes. I thought it was a good run, 1,000 guineas.
Yeah.
3 wide all the way, and then got held up at the Valley. I think Tanith might go 2 better today.
I agree with you. What about you, Jennifer?
Well, I like number 6, Shelbourne Lass. I thought it was a fabulous run last start. She
Should be
worked
a good odds
extremely
too.
hard. Yeah, she should be nice odds, and I think she's got a terrific chance in this race.
Well, there you go. There are our selections for the first 5 races on Amy Victoria Derby Day. Shortly, we'll be previewing the big 3, the Derby, the Louis Vuitton McKinnon Stakes, and also the Salinger, and not to forget the last, the Yallumby Stud Stakes as well. But as we go to our next break, get your pens handy because Milton Black has his lucky numbers for Derby Day 2000.
Shaken Lodge a length away, battling on Freemason. Blackfriars hit the lead in the Derby from Diatribe. 2 lengths back to Shaken Lodge, who's still coming. Blackfriars in front, Shaken Lodge a length away, pegging him back.
And there it is, the finish of the Derby last year. We've already seen the interference. Blackfriars getting away from Shogun Lodge. Watch the horse in the light green colours getting home towards the end of the race. But it was Blackfriars in the steward's room who took out the Derby, and the horse that ran 3rd was Diatribe, the Caulfield Cup winner of the year 2000. Well, let's take a look at the first of our features today, the Amy Victoria Derby, $1 million in prize money. And Jen, we're going to have a look at a couple of replays, and first of all, we'll take you back to last Saturday at Moonee Valley. The Amy Vars, Scalato and Universal Prince fought out the finish, and I just got the feeling if they had have gone another lap, Scalato still would have beaten Universal Prince.
Look, he's a terrific horse, Scalato, that's for sure. Probably a little worry on the going here today. We'll just have to keep an eye on the track, how it does run. But from barrier 16, he'll need some luck. He's got a terrific jockey on board. He's got to be a chance, and Universal Prince, well, there was not too much wrong with his run, and of course, Sale of Century running on at the end when it was all over.
The one thing I like about Scalato in that race, though, Rich, was that it showed that he can race up the front as well as racing behind like he did in the Caulfield Guineas.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan to race up on the lead with Scalato, and he ended up there because there was no pace in the race. There was a leader bias at Moonee Valley, and I think that favoured Scalato a little bit, maybe flattered his run compared to Universal Prince. But he's an outstanding horse, and I've got to stay with him today.
One of the other good lead-up races is the Norman Robinson Stakes, which is run at Caulfield, and we'll have a look at the closing stages of that. And Johnny Letts, wouldn't it be a popular victory if this horse Royale Exit, which is in the orange colours, wins for Leon Corstens and Peter Mertens?
It'd be something that they'd be looking for, wouldn't it, the Derby? And this horse ran a good race last time out, Peter, when he won. I thought he was in the race with a bit of a chance today. He'll get the distance. I don't think that'll be any worry to him. And just on the day, we've just got to worry about the track a little bit with the horses up the top, don't we?
Think Leon Corstens would be looking to win the Derby? That's a surprise.
I think he would be. I think it'd just top it off nicely. Nicely, top it off nicely. But Scalato, we've got to pick dangers to him. We can all pick him, can't we? We can all pick him and say that he's the horse to beat. I think the race is going to be run. There's a horse in this race called Comforts, which gets across quickly, gets across to the lead.
Okay.
He'll actually take Scalato over, I'd say, give Scalato a nice run of the race. But a horse that you've got to be looking at is a horse like Royal Exit. Strawn Knights, he's going to have the run of the race.
Up until a few weeks ago, you know, probably we would have been talking about a horse like Sarsen Trail, who looked a very promising type out of the Peter Hayes stable, but he hasn't had the best of luck. He got knocked over in that race at Caulfield. How he's going to handle the track today? Well, we found out by speaking to Peter Hayes at the track this morning.
You know, that's, I mean, his last run was poor, even though there were, he suffered a bad run in the race, but his run still, in my opinion, was not quite good enough. But certainly he's one of the horses in the race with the ability to win the race, and I can't fault him at home, so he'll take his place.
And Peter, a big day too for the Hind in the McKinnon.
Yes. He's come back from the dead virtually. His heart went out of rhythm and he was pulled up in the Moonee Valley Cup, but his work on Tuesday, which was only 4 days after that happened, was as good as I've ever seen from him, probably the best work I've ever seen from him. So we felt that, I normally don't like running him close to a big event, but I felt that today he has to have a race because he would have been going into the race a gallop short.
Peter Hayes talking to Mark Aston at the track this morning. Well, with all of those facts and figures and replays, Jennifer, find us the winner, please.
Well, I'm going to go with Sale of Century here, Peter. I've just liked all his runs in so far. He reminds me a little bit like Fire Oak and Nothing Like a Dane. I think he's got a terrific chance in the race. For second, I'm putting in Universal Prince. I think he can relax and he should be able to run it out. Number 2, Scalato for third, and Falls the Shadow, definitely if you're taking a trifecta there.
Now, Richard Friedman, you said you don't tip yours too often. Are you going to do it here?
No, I'm going to play the percentages here in the Derby and stay with Scalato. I think his form's outstanding. I think Universal Prince will chase him home again, probably. I'm just hoping that our horse Bush Padre can run the third drum, but he wouldn't be out of it. It's a bit hard to tell where he rates. His form's so different to theirs, through different form lines. My best outsider, I suppose, Hit the Roof.
Jonathan Letts.
Well, I'm going for the favourite, Pete Scalato. I do think he's the horse to beat. Patrick Payne to ride. Universal Prince, good run at the Valley, but I think today might be a little bit different because he's going to get a better crack at Scalato today. Reenactor's a horse that handles the ground, and I thought its run at Caulfield last time out in the Norman Robinson wasn't that bad a run. So I give you the chance. And my best roughie was number 14, your horse, Richard, Bush Padre. I did see it win the other day at Geelong. Gee, it was impressive, wasn't it? It just walked in.
Yeah, he was impressive. They've taken the blinkers off Reenact today. Might make him settle a bit.
Well, it might, Rich, because he pulled hard the other way, didn't he?
He'll still be talking when the Derby's run. Scalato is my selection. Paddy Payne is a great rider. I think he'll ride this horse well. I was really taken with Falls the Shadow's run at Caulfield. Looking at the replay a few times last night, Jen, he had no luck at all. I think he's a good each-way chance. Sale of Century to fill the placings, and I think Bush Padre. In doing so, I'm leaving out Universal Prince, which I certainly don't like doing. But you can't tip them all. Dan's gone for Sale of Century, Scalato and Falls the Shadow, so it's 9, 2 and 8. And Royale Exit, number 7, is his best outsider. And Gary Willetts, well, his selection, Scalato. The favourite to win from Universal Prince and Bush Padre, and Royale Exit, number 7, is the best outsider from Gary Willetts. The Derby, well, it's getting ever closer. It's still a little while to go. We've still got a few hours before we actually get to the running of the big one, the Amy Victoria Derby today. But when we do get there, there'll be a huge crowd here at Flemington, and that will be the first of our Group 1 treble today. Let's take more of Milton Black's lucky numbers. Hope you're writing these down, or maybe even the selections from the experts. And we'll be back to preview the Louis Vuitton McKinnon Stakes, the Salinger and the Yallambee Stud Stakes when we return to Flemington after this break. Can you feel it, the excitement building at Flemington on the first day of the Melbourne Cup Carnival 2000, and you're watching it live around Australia and in many parts of the world through Network 10. The second of our Group 1 treble this afternoon is the Louis Vuitton McKinnon Stakes. And, Jen, we're getting back to a race where we've got a lot of the Melbourne Cup hopefuls going around in this race too.
We have, Pete. I thought number, I think it's 15 here, Hill of Grace, had a terrific chance in this. Probably got to the front a little early in the Caulfield Cup, and she's dropping back to the 2,000 metres here today. I think that'll suit her a lot better.
Rich?
I like number 3, Oliver Twist. I think he's a great chance here today because he's so tough and he's so honest, and I think he'll beat number 1, Sky Heights, and maybe number 11, Freemason, will run into the place. But Oliver Twist, you can't go past him, can you, Letsy?
I can't, and you've been looking at my book. I've tipped him, Rich, because after the Cox Plate form, he's finished 10 lengths behind the winner. The favourite, Sky Heights, has finished 26, so there's a 16 lengths turnaround. I think Oliver Twist will win. He's drawn the 1 gate, Greg Charles.
I could have told you that.
I reckon if you forgive Sky Heights his poor run in the Cox Plate, and it was a poor run, apparently he worked the place down at Cranbourne the other morning, and I think that he's definitely worth another chance because he is the class galloper of the race. Now, onto the flying machines in the Salinger, race 8 on the card down the straight, 1,200 metre course. And probably the biggest flying machine of them all, Rich, is Falvalon. He's been oh so impressive, but he comes up against a pretty stern test today.
I love him. I reckon he's a great little sprinter,
He is.
Valvulon. He does everything right. Everything you ask that little horse to do, he does. He races on the pace, he can sit behind it. So assuming that the outside of the course is the best place to be, and I think that's where he'll go, he'll get towards the outside rail there. It'd be very hard to run down.
John?
I've had to stick with Richard again in this bet. I have. I just can't help it. I've just got to cheat. I have to cheat off his book.
Well, you're a jockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak of Richard Freeman, and you can get through to him on the usual address. What about...
Hey, Pete, just before we go, we had a look at the track last night, and Rich, you'll agree with us, just in from the outside fence about 2 horses, there's a real hard spot in there, and I think that's where Falvalon, where Damien Oliver will be heading, and I think Falvalon will win.
I've gone for Falvalon as well, and you like the little filly, Jen?
Well, I'm going to go for her. I think she's been most impressive. She hasn't done anything wrong at all in her races. Whether she can make that next step forward, I don't know, but I've got a lot of respect for Falvalon as well.
Righto, there are our selections for the big one, the Salinger Stakes, and we come to the last, the Yallumby Stud Stakes. Hopefully we're winning before this, but if we're not, let's see, who are you going for?
Well,
There
I'm
you go.
going
I gave you the first tip
Well,
this time.
thank you, Pete, and I'm sure no one else has tipped this horse, number 2, El Morada.
You're
Trained by...
kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
No, I
and I'll
haven't
tell you
tipped
why. Rich, do you want to have a look at mine? Do a bit of form on it before we come to your tipping. El Morada, I like him, and the only reason I like him, Peter Mertens rode this here horse last year, and he told me every time this horse draws a bad gate, be on him.
Okay.
And he's drawn 17 today, D. Beedman, JB Cummings. I think he'll win the last.
Jen?
I'm going for the top weight, number 1, Landsarding. I thought it was a terrific effort to win the Bill Ritchie, and 1400 again here today.
Rich?
I like Seller, number 4. I think he's a horse on the up. He's in really good, consistent form. And barrier 6, D. Gauchi, and I think Johnny Hawkes will win the last.
Paul Perry normally produces a winner at the Carnival. I think he might produce one today. This horse, Matter of Honour, has drawn gate number 1. He'll be up on the speed, and he's Might and Power's half-brother. So I think Matter of Honour is the one to get out on in the final event today. So there you have the selections from the expert panel. Hopefully they might steer you into one of the 9 winners to be held here on Amy Victoria Derby Day. Speaking of winners, well, our guest in the studio is a man who has made winning a habit, and he's done it on the biggest stage of them all, the Olympic Games. The first Australian since Dawn Fraser to win gold medals at 3 successive Olympics. Andrew Hoy, let's put our hands together for you.
Yes.
Great to see you here. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Actually, it's wonderful to be here. Like, there is so much atmosphere here at Flemington. It's just one of the greatest days of racing, especially with the Derby, and it's fabulous to be back. I came back from the UK on Sunday night, and only here for a short time. Fly up Wednesday.
You're here
What
as
he
the
got in
Amy
his pocket?
ambassador.
What's he got in his pocket,
I
Pete?
don't know. What has he got in his pocket?
Andrew?
I think we've got to see this.
We've got to see this. We really must see
Oh,
this.
there it
Pete.
is.
But amongst us, you might not.
Don't give it to Letzi. Don't give it to
Actually,
Letzi.
keep a string on it.
Have you come down from all of the excitement of
gold
Sydney
medal,
yet?
eh?
Yeah, like, you don't realise the significance of the result until you actually leave the village and leave the games, and it's just been enormous when you get out into the public domain. The response from people has been absolutely fantastic. The response throughout the world, through being back in the UK for a couple of weeks, doing some training back there, people have said that the Olympics were just the greatest thing, that the atmosphere was just coming out of the television, and if they were there, it was just sensational. They said the thing that was great and makes me so proud in being Australian was that the volunteers actually made the Olympics.
Yeah.
They welcomed everyone into the country.
One thing I think all people who participate in equestrian sports, they all share a love of the animal, and they all share an appreciation for everybody else's sport. Because I know that the people in the racing industry had enormous admiration for what you did, and it's interesting to see you here enjoying our equestrian sport. It's a little different.
It is different, but many of the owners of my horses come from the racing industry, such as Bob and Rosemary Scarborough, and they've got a horse running this afternoon, so...
You be tipping it?
Well, yeah, I'm going each way in the Derby on hit the heights.
Hit the roof.
Hit the roof.
Yeah,
Hit the
spoken
roof.
like a true trainer too. Very diplomatic.
Well,
All
you
right,
did
so-
that. Andrew did that, didn't he? Hit the roof,
He did
actually.
hit the roof,
In the
and there is the reason that he did the Olympic gold medal, the 3rd one in succession. Andrew, thanks for being with us today at the start of Amy Victoria Derby Day. I know you're going to enjoy the day like the rest of us.
I will. Thank you.
Andrew Hoy joining us in the studio. Well, time now to head to a break. I think Milton's got some more lucky numbers for us, and we'll be back here on Amy Victoria Derby Day, the opening day of the Melbourne Cup Carnival for 2000 in just a moment. Postcards from Williamstown, just across the bay. I think there's an echo in here. Can you hear that? Yes. And there we go. So, yes, just across the other side of the bay, and it is a great little spot, Williamstown. And the crowds are starting to roll in here to Flemington. I see a few of the boys who are wearing various outfits and uniforms. And I saw a few boys out on the lawn there who looked as though they'd been to the same tailor as you.
Oh, why is that?
Well, they're wearing exactly the same colour, Jennifer.
It's the Jenny Chapman fan club.
Yeah. Oh, that's who it is.
Yes.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
the buttons sit up a bit higher than mine.
Big boys.
Last year during the carnival here, we... there they are, by the way.
Yes, there they
Look
are.
at them.
Hey, Jen.
Oh, yes. Well,
We've got their Does that make you feel good, Jen?
well, I don't know.
They're waiting for you, Jenny.
If it's any consolation, Jen, you look a bit better.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I knew you'd say that, though.
Now, last year during the carnival, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the boys on the lawn. We almost had to pay David Hall appearance money. He just trained winner after winner, 7 of them in fact, and it was a carnival at which his already impressive career took another step.
In this era of big business, a sure sign of success for a trainer is the number of times his mobile phone rings. Ever since last year's Melbourne Cup Carnival, David Hall has been in demand from new clients, hoping he can repeat his remarkable tally of 7 winners over the 4 days.
We had a lot of offers, a lot of phone calls, and we've probably got more 2-year-olds on our books than we've ever had. So all eyes are definitely on the Spring Carnival.
Teaming with jockey Brett Preble, Hall's great week was highlighted by the sizzling sprinter Far Rain, who won the Group 1 Salinger Stakes on Derby Day and backed up in the Group 2 Emirates Stakes on Oaks Day. Then on the final day, Hall helped Preble break Jack Purtell's 52-year-old Cup Week tally by saddling up Zippor in the Group 2 Queen Elizabeth Stakes. Although the good judges had Hall destined for success from the time he began training in South Australia, he never expected such a flood of winners in such an important week.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit like that. You know, I think it all happened that quickly and that fast. It never really hit home until you know, a few months later when people keep talking about what you'd actually achieved. So yeah, it's sort of gone on all year, and as you say, it's come around very quickly.
So what does David Hall make of his chances this year?
If you had asked me that question this time last year, I would have been extremely nervous and probably not expecting to have more than 1 winner over the week. This year, the expectations are a lot greater, and we've certainly got a few irons in the fire, and I think we've got some nice horses running, and once again, I think as long as you've got some runners over that competitive week, you're always a chance.
Already this season, Hall has followed up on his successful 1999, and with 15 city wins so far this season, he's definitely on the way to being a permanent fixture in racing's top bracket.
The first time, you know, I moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, my ambition was to be, you know, a top 10 trainer. So that was the first one we achieved. You know, we finished 3rd last year, just got pipped for a 2nd spot. We were running 2nd for a lot of the year. So I think to finish in the top 3 regularly would be, you know, would be most satisfying.
Hall still most enjoys the basics of his industry, looking after the horses.
We don't really know anything else except for you know, how to get out of bed early in the mornings and work with the horses.
He certainly loves the animals, and hopefully it might be another successful carnival for David Hall. We're only about 25 minutes away from the opening race on AAMI Victoria Derby Day 2000. As we go to the break, the last instalment of Milton Black's Lucky Numbers, and then we'll be back to see what they're paying on the tote in the first race.
Or Bart Cummings to train. It is simply the easiest way to get to Flemington. 2 platforms this year makes it too easy. That is, take the A Train by Count Basie. The boys and the band are on fire.
And so is Tim Bailey on fire, and he will be all throughout the day. Now, I've got some news for you three. I think your tipping so far has been absolutely magnificent because you haven't tipped a loser all carnival so far. You've been terrific.
Very good, hasn't it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
Good effort.
we've put another tipster on.
Right.
Do I have to box 5
We
horses
have put
now?
another tipster on.
Yeah? Who?
The computer. It's the Strathfield Race Predictor.
You've got a machine.
And we are
You've got a
going to be
machine,
looking at that throughout the carnival, and you never know, it might just show this lot up. And what it's also going to show you, Jen, is this is the first race. So this is the William Inglis Carbine Club Stakes, and it takes us down behind the gates. So we bring them up, move them in, and out we go, and it'll show us just what's in front of these runners, and we can see that they get to a big turn here round about the 1400 metre mark.
Yes, this is the first time I've seen it, Peter, so interested.
That big turn at the 1400 metre mark, if you're not in position by then, Pete,
Absolutely.
you're in big trouble.
Yeah, and especially with the way that the track looks as though it's going to race today, I think there's going to be a few getting up the front. Now, those red marks, that is where the track is a little bit softer, according to our information. And then they come down towards the home turn, let's see. The straight's officially 453 metres long, and there's a few had heart attacks over the years when they get to the top of the straight and see how long it is.
Yes, the winning post is a long way down the other end, Pete, isn't it? But this is great to watch. Listen, those red spots, Peter, how do they work? How does it operate? That's
a little bit softer going at
Yes.
that particular point of the race. Now, here come the horses down to the line, because that's another thing that it's going to tell you. Hopefully the winners of the races. Now, given all of the track conditions that we can see at the moment, it's Crystal Finale,
What did you need the machine for? I tipped that.
So did
Well,
I.
we just like having the machine here because it doesn't disagree as
And
much
don't
as
bother
you do.
explaining it to Letzi because he'll never understand.
well, I'm going home because I've tipped number 1. It hasn't run a place.
Not yet, not yet. But you might be right, and the Strathfield Race Predictor might be wrong, and we'll be keeping you up to date with that right throughout the
If I'm wrong, don't worry about keeping me up to date. If I'm right, keep me up to date.
All right. Now, as usual, of course, this year we have another great international contingent coming out here. Vintage Crop blazed the trail in 1993. The great old horse is actually back with us this week here at Flemington. But once again, there is another huge assault on the Melbourne Cup from the Northern Hemisphere.
It's been 7 years since the Foster's Melbourne Cup was turned upside down by the Irish galloper Vintage Crop. They said the cup would never be the same, and for every cup since then, the overseas invasion has indeed grown bigger. But despite all predictions, and a couple of close calls like Central Park last year, no other Northern Hemisphere galloper has been able to repeat the victory. In 2000, the VRC received a record 54 entries from overseas horses. The 54 became 7. But mishaps after arrival in Australia means the invaders are now down to a couple of quality stayers. A small but select group, one of whom may yet emerge to emulate Vintage Crop.